So the other day I caught a clip of Bro Rogan, and he had Pauly Shore on. Pauly had this to say.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun. That's why now when I look back on my films, I get kind of sad.
Why?
Because that time of my life was my happiest time.
And then Brogan was like,
But why does it make you sad? Why does it make you sad?
what a dick. I mean, dude, he was famous and starring in movies, and within 5 years, his career, as quick as it had started, was over. As Pauly said,
watching the movies make me sad because I miss starring in films.
yeah, it's pretty obvious, Joe. And that got me thinking about Pauly Shore's career back then, how quickly it exploded and how it was gone within 5 years. Like Ernest P. Worrell before him, there is really nothing like a Pauly Shore movie. And there are only 5 of them, making this a microgenre. Yay! I sat down and watched all 5 and a few more, and this video is the culmination of my thoughts on Pauly Shore's career during this time. So join me while I spend way too much time overthinking about Pauly Shore's career and why it suffered the way it did when it did. Welcome to the Pauly-Odyssey. Or should I say, welcome to the Pauly-Odyssey. So why do I say that there are only 5 Pauly Shore movies? You could check IMDb and see that there's a lengthy resume of work. Well, when defining a microgenre, we need to set the rules. Otherwise, we're just going to be caught in one of these just rambling, nonsensical tangents that I go on. So when people think of Pauly Shore and his movies, they are really only talking about 4 of these 5 movies. And that's for 97.6% of all conversations. That's science facts. I myself had no idea that he was even on MTV at a time that I was the age where I should know, except that we didn't have MTV in Canada. We had Much Music, which is just like MTV, but without Pauly Shore. So I came to know him through his movies, starting with Encino Man in 1992. Now these are his only 5 movies, Hollywood big budget production movies where he is one of the leads, if not the main star. And they're so tightly packed together, one a year for 5 years, that aesthetically they fit together. And then because the films are all built from the outset as vehicles for his weasel persona, the lifespan of our interest in the character is also contained within these 5. I think it's fair game to look at them as a microgenre. Check out the names of the characters from the movies: Stony Brown, Crawl, Bones Conway, Tommy Collins, and Bud McIntosh. Now, tell me there's a significant difference between these movies. Well, maybe. But before we get to the 5 movies, let's give a little background as to why he got those movies to begin with. He grew up in comedy. His mother was Mitzi Shore, the owner of the comedy club, and that had Pauly going up on stage at a relatively young age. That also put him in close proximity to comedy goats like Sam Kinison, who was a mentor and friend to Pauly. Even though it's obvious Pauly was huffin' major uffage, his MTV persona was too family-friendly to have garnered a die-hard stoner fan base, again because he had really no edge to him. As I said, I wasn't even aware of his stint with that network on his own show, Totally Pauly, but you can check out compilation videos on YouTube to see a whole bunch of them.
Hey, buddies, it's me, the Wheeze. What's happening, bud? You guys are gonna reek, man. Come with us, buddy. Oh, hey, buddy, I'm with them. Epic, say no more. Oh, I'm with those chicks.
This really gives you an idea of where the weasel comes from. He was just cruising for some major grindage, buddy. And the show itself was really the beginning of that type of programming. VJs, interstitial content, reality show stuff, prank show stuff. And to be fair and give the guy his dues, he was pioneering all of that. Credit given. So he pioneered the VJ gig at just the right time, and now he could get bigger gigs in films. Let's go through the movies quickly and then take a look at them as a career trajectory for Pauly. Let's start at the beginning. Well, not that far, but Yes, this is the movie, 1992, Encino Man. Let's let Paulie explain this one.
Tell people what it is.
Okay, the movie's called Encino Man, and it's about these two losers. I'm one of them. And we find a caveman in my friend's backyard, and we take it to school, and the caveman makes us cool. But
In Encino Man, Paulie is the best friend of Sean Astin, who desperately wants to be popular and thinks the caveman he dug out of his backyard is his ticket to popularity. Son-in-law, City Paulie, heads to the Midwest for a farm culture clash, where he pretends to be friends so she doesn't have to face her old boyfriend's marriage proposal.
get up, dude, reverse. Here's Howard. Come on. Theo, suck on it, buddy.
Not my boy just stepped my hat.
In the Army Now puts Paulie in the Army. Duh, buddy. They cut off his hair, and he gets buff. Jury Duty is Pauly Shore's 12 Angry Men, and Biodome is an environmental goofball stoner movie, but kind of without the weed. He also has a small role in Kid and Play's Class Act as a sober cruster, but he has very little screen time.
Cool, buddies. Tyson. Rasta butts. Creasing outside of your map. Lynn. Bladage, dude, talk to me.
What?
So I wouldn't call that a Pauly Shore vehicle, exactly. So, after rewatching Encino Man and coming to terms with Sean Astin being such a dick the entire movie, and to be clear, he spends the entire movie pining after a girl who was into him in the 9th grade, but he wasn't interested until she hadn't reached full babehood.
You don't understand. We have history.
Hey, you had history, pre-freshman history. Could have had her back then, man.
She hadn't hit babehood yet.
Ugh. Anyway, then he leverages his cave buddy to try and attain fame, which is also really gross.
We'll teach him some stupid pet tricks and get him on Letterman.
You're wheezing off his gig.
Oh, please, he's a caveman, for God's sakes. I mean, look at him. He's practically a monkey.
But Paulie is great. Fraser is great. And Astin's really great, but as a dick.
We found him. We can do whatever we want with him.
We, no. You. I just want to be his friend.
But he's supposed to be our hero, which is just really weird. Paulie eventually has to fight Sean Astin for being a douche, and this is the peak of the movie, really putting their friendship at the core of the story.
You're the one who wheezed off his gig the whole time because you thought maybe it'd get you somewhere. And now the guy gets a little crusty and you're just gonna bag him. It's not happening, Dave. I'm sorry, that's not how it works with friends, man.
Paulie is actually super likable in this movie, and I think this is the favorite Pauly Shore movie for most people. He just isn't swayed by popularity or trends or materialism, even when Astin tempts him. The center of Stoney's character is just for everybody to be cool. After Encino Man, I watched Son-in-Law, and in that movie, he's trying to let this young lady broaden her cultural horizons. Stuff like dressing differently or having short hair. Her family is super repressed and conservative. Her boyfriend only cares for her in as so much as he thinks she should act or look a certain way. So in this movie, Paulie is really kind of an uber feminist and generally progressive in his views. It's really a sweet movie. Paulie heals a relationship between her father and her brother, and between her father and his own father, helps to bring a spark back into her parents' marriage. It's all very cute and endearing.
You know, I kind of feel sorry for you, Mr. Warner.
What?
Well, your dad, I've been noticing the way he's always treating you.
Oh, he's been like that as long as I can remember, the son of a bitch.
Kind of like the way you get down on Zach, the way he does things too, huh?
And he really takes the brunt of her family's disapproval, but eventually wins them over just by being a really good dude.
Rebecca, I don't want to lie to him anymore.
I told you we're gonna get back to school, and I'll call and I'll tell him we broke up.
Yeah, but your dad took me fishing, all right? We bonded, finally. I like your family, Rebecca. I like them a whole bunch.
I guess by the end, he does hook up with the girl and they fall in love, and people looking deeper into a Pauly Shore movie might say that undermined the theme of the movie being her independence, and falling back on another man inevitably might not be the best look. and a cliched ending, but it was the mid-90s, and we did far worse back then. And I might question anybody looking too deeply into a Pauly Shore movie. I would say that Son-in-Law and Encino Man are the gold standard for his filmography, though. Then it all turns foul with In the Army Now. At first I was thinking that we would see pacifist Pauly showing the military why they should just chill instead of harshing the global buzz, tweakers. But that's not what happened. In Jury Duty, I thought maybe he would bring some humanity to the judicial system by getting the judicial crusters to mellow on some sweet grindage. But that isn't what happened either, and Biodome seemed like an easy layup for a mid-90s environmental global wheeze, and yet this is the last of his 5-movie run. Seriously, while these last 3 movies are inarguably less funny than the first 2, most people would chalk this up to the Weasel character getting tired, or Pauly not having the chops to carry a movie. My personal opinion? He might have overexposed himself too quickly, sure, but I think there's a subversion of the Weasel character that's going on, and Pauly wasn't aware of it and didn't realize how important it was to his persona. And this is where we start to go a little too deep into our Pauly-Odyssey. You've been warned. So I kind of think that he became the unlikable Sean Astin character from Encino Man. All his roles became self-serving characters, short-sighted and stupid. Now, while you could always make the argument that the Weasel was an obnoxious character, never was he really ill-intentioned. He was never out to scam anybody. Nobody likes obnoxious people, but we all know an obnoxious person that we still love because their hearts are in the right place. Right? Well, it beats the crap out of Pauly Shore letting the army indoctrinate him into becoming a killing machine by the end of the movie. I mean, seriously, this movie has been compared to Stripes, and I personally think it's more comparable to Police Academy, but in neither of those movies do the leads just pick up an automatic weapon and mow down some enemy combatants.
This is for the Glendale Water Boy! Not bad, huh?
Doesn't even faze him in the slightest. He's proud of it. These are not people to him anymore. They're just targets to be eradicated for some vague military objective. This was the mid-90s, and even by then, the public's appetite for more war had stretched beyond thin, I think. Jury Duty doesn't really fare much better. Pauly's a grifter who gets a jury summons and takes it not out of a sense of civic duty or responsibility, but because he needs a free place to stay. He makes sure the trial drags out as long as possible for his own selfish reasons.
We go to different courtrooms until they find the trial that's right for us. And the trial that's right for us is a very long one, where we get to stay in the hotel for free, not to mention $5 a day.
He scams a luxury suite in a dilapidated hotel that they're staying in while the rest of the jurors have to suffer in bummy accommodations.
So this is what it was all about. So this whole thing had nothing to do with justice. Did it? The only man's life you cared about was your own.
And when he finally does save the day and solve the case and gets an innocent man out of a death sentence, the real murderer turns out to be one of those crazy environmentalists.
I'll tell you why I did it. I'm only hastening the inevitable. Mother Earth needs to cleanse herself. We're all gonna burn in a fiery hell. Oh God, can't you see? There's no hope!
I guess there's nothing really funny about pinning any of this on the Christian white nationalists doing the crimes. Well, anymore? I mean, seriously though, where are the eco-terrorists 30 years later? Yeah, there's not a lot of environmentalist murderers, are there? Okay, the killer was an environmentalist, and this is just such a stupid ending. But remember this, because we're going to come back to it. And that's a perfect segue into Biodome, which every time I watch it, I feel should have been better. I really want it to be, but there's precious little to enjoy about this movie. On its comedy merits, casting Stephen Baldwin, a very unfunny human, was not a great choice in casting. He doesn't really do funny as much as he does dumb.
Do you have any idea how impossible it would be to make this place habitable again?
Impossible is my non-diploma.
It's like a non-stoner pretending he knows how dumb stoners act, and so it just comes off as inauthentic. But we can certainly look past authenticity in a Pauly Shore movie. Looking for authenticity in a Pauly Shore movie is to miss the point, maybe. Aside from the dude getting buff for In the Army Now, dude really did that. Kudos. Unfortunately, also the entire point or intent of the movie is not a good look. Scientists are about to enter a biodome with a perfectly sustained ecosystem, but Pauly Shore and his unfunny friend think it's a shopping mall.
Get them out of there! Oh my god.
Doyle? I don't think this is a mall.
And so they get trapped inside too. Because they are selfish douchebags, they just ruined the entire experiment. It's supposed to have been ruined by them just entering, but nobody explains why they don't just open the door right then and let them out and then start the experiment. But then we'd have no movie, and these are the types of decisions the writers made, so yeah. And it gets dumber. So by the end, they bring their ecosystem back in the dome from a 99% failure, dead plants, undrinkable water, etc., to 100% success with little to no effort, and teaching the scientists how to do it all while they stand back all baffled by the idiot savants schooling them on how to fix the planet. It makes a complete mockery of the environment and planet science, showing that if just two idiots cared, we could turn this whole thing around. Guys in the movie are only shown to care about the planet if they can get laid, like it's all a scam.
Going around trying to collect empties and recycle them.
Oh, well here, take this.
Take mine.
There's like a lot of waste at these parties.
That's awfully noble of you.
I don't know that it's noble, it's just what we're compelled to do.
Phonies? You're trashing the place, you phonies! So?
I thought you cared about the environment.
No, we just want to get laid.
I mean, as we continue to see extreme climate changes, floods, storms, forest fires that are increasing, a movie like this is an indictment of how ignorant we are as a species. So people who care about the environment are being insulted, and the people in denial about climate change wouldn't care to root for a sustainable planet. So who is this supposed to appeal to exactly? Well, there is one bright spot. If you blink, you'll miss it, but this is indeed the first appearance of Tenacious D, almost a throwaway, but now a piece of rock history.
Need us to save some trees. We just want to save some trees. Don't say we didn't save some freaking trees.
Okay, so what's my takeaway? Are these 5 great and brilliant unsung and underappreciated comedic gems? Not really. But it's not all trash either, just some of it is trash. Since his movie run as a leading man fizzled out, Pauly never really left. He stayed busy and hustled. He has since continued to do stand-up with specials, done voiceover work in animation, documentaries, of which he is often the main subject. Pauly Shore is Dead is a 2004 mockumentary where he fakes his own death so he can see reactions from people, and the documentary Pauly Shore Stands Alone is a more serious look at his real life as he approaches 50 and his mom's health is failing. So the question is, why was Adam Sandler allowed to grow beyond his super annoying and immature characters and Pauly wasn't? Why did the Hollywood machine choose one over the other? Or the audiences prefer one more than the other? Maybe the question is whether Pauly could have evolved if given the chance. He got 5 swings at the bat, but kind of blew through them really quickly. In the clip with Rogan, Pauly says this.
People say, why aren't you starring in films? Like, what's up? And like,
Yeah.
I can't answer it. You know what I mean? Poor choices, the weasel shit dried up. You know, the movies didn't perform as well. I didn't listen to my agents. I wasn't like doing drugs. It wasn't like I got all fucked up.
Maybe with more time to develop his projects, the Weasel could have had better movies. Adam Sandler has always had a hand in writing many of his projects and surrounds himself with great writers and writing partners, and I'm certain that helps him to retain an amount of creative control for his vision. Or maybe if Pauly had been more guarded or aware of how his character was being turned into a dirtbag and lost his charm, audiences might have been more forgiving. A look back from 2023 also reminds me of how androgynous he was. Pauly was never a tough alpha guy, but he was super secure in his sexuality, which again in the 90s was pretty bold. Okay, there are plenty of people who would think it was stupid enough to do an entire video about Pauly Shore's movies because so many of them are in fact also stupid, even if we love them. It's okay for something to be dumb and fun, but in trying to half-seriously answer the question of what happened to Pauly's movie career, I think I deserve to give you an equally stupid and only half-serious answer, the kind of answer deserving of a filmography that made the serial killer an environmentalist. You remember that? I said we'd come back to it.
And I know why the killer's been killing. Why? 3 words, Frank. Non-recyclables. He was pissed because these places are still using non-recyclables.
So I propose that Pauly was not a great steward of the Weasel character, and as we see each movie progress, the last 3 specifically, and we see the unnatural bend towards a more conservative ideology and just becoming more of a jerk, it follows a pattern that many other current celebrities have fallen prey to. They make their legendary works and statements with some pivotal lefty ideology behind them, some humanist position they took, and then they make a right-wing turn and fall off. I'll give you some examples. Kanye. George Bush doesn't care about black people, now he loves Little Mustache Man. Dave Chappelle walked away for millions of dollars to go to Africa, very anti-capitalist, is now a transphobe and hangs out with Elon Musk, an ultra-capitalist. Elon Musk was the face of electric cars and renewable energy, at least as a facade, and now he's a devout Republican who platforms hate speech. J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter, the novel's themes that mostly resonate with the readers was about inclusivity of different peoples and frowning upon class structures in society and fascism and bigotry, but now transphobe bully. And now I get it. Pauly sure didn't do any of that. But when you stack up his film oeuvre of work and see the decline in audience response as they go, and overlay the building cynicism, pro-military propaganda, trying to scapegoat environmentalists even if just for a joke, and playing off the seriousness of the climate crisis in Biodome, which at the time was called global warming, and playing that up as unimportant, and then as an easily fixed issue, these are all bad calls for the Weasel, man. People like nice people.
Hey, you gotta be equal. Equals. 50-50 here.
So yeah, I said this was a stupid, half-serious joke answer to a half-funny series of movies from the 90s, but every joke has got a grain of truth to it. I know it's not that deep, but we're having fun, right? The other grains of truth, audience fatigue and overexposure, or limited range of jokes, or poor scripts, are all factors at play. But this anti-woke going broke angle might have also been a factor as well. I think it bears out in the replay value of Encino Man and Son-in-Law and how drastically audiences dropped him once he started making pro-war, anti-environmentalist, cynical pap. As always, if I can, I like to leave on a high note, so I'm going to end with last year's Academy Awards, where both Brendan Fraser and Ki Kwan got their awards, and Kimmel poked a little fun at their Encino Man co-star. But Pauly's a major class act, and you can't tax his gig, Cruster. So I'm going to end with this clip from the Academy Awards where Jimmy makes his joke, and I'm too lazy to source it for the original poster, and then end with Pauly's response and tweet. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Brendan Fraser and Ki Kwan were in a movie together. Remember which movie it was? Encino Man. 2 actors from Encino Man are nominated for Oscars. What an incredible night this must be for the 2 of you, and what a very difficult night for Pauly Shore.
Jimmy Kimmel poked fun at me in a monologue. If you haven't checked it out, watch this clip. Very funny. I really enjoyed it. What I really loved is that my old buddies from back in the day, Brendan Fraser and Ki Kwan, took home Oscars. What a story. I mean, really, guys, what a effing story. If we can all learn something from this, never quit on your dreams. Keep dreaming, work hard, and put in the time. And if your stars line up and you're in the entertainment business, one day Hollywood will hit you in the head with the pixie dust like it did with Brendan and Ki. Have a great week, guys. Once again, Jimmy, thanks for making us silly about me last night. Fun stuff.